With more young players emerging on the waiver wire, Matt and I are making sure you know which ones to add on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DonMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ane, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ane. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit the little bell below. It subscribes to the channel and gives you notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, but most importantly to Matt and I, guys, join us on the Subtext platform. The link to our Subtext is in our bio wherever you're watching or listening, or available on any of our social media platforms. Through Subtext, it's an in-depth personalized experience with text message alerts right to your phone, offering so much more than we can on this 30-minute podcast. And guys, dive on into the ultimate fantasy baseball experience with our exclusive Locked On Fantasy Baseball hat giveaway. Score big by simply sharing any of our posts on X or Instagram. Each share earns you an entry into the draw. The more you share, the greater your chances are of winning. Don't miss out. The drawing will be held on my birthday, June 14th, so get in the game now for a chance to win. And Matt, we have a lot of great names today. Where are we headed first?
Hey, so you know what? With all the injuries coming up and things like this, we probably need a little filler in the hitters category. Let's talk about Luis Matos. Luis Matos, since getting called up, has just been rocking and rolling, honestly. 4 runs, 2 bombs, 16 ribs, betting 455 on the week. And you know what? Matos has some upside. Nothing killer, nothing like blow you away, but he does have some upside, right? So you look at what he's done in the minors. He has like 15 to 20 home run upside. He has 20 stolen base upside, and he could provide you with decent batting average. So you look at it, and in some seasons you see like a 215, a 250, but then you go over, you look at the walk to strikeouts and things like that, and he's had pretty comparable things, like 50% in some years. Some is like in last year, for instance, 28 walks to 23 strikeouts, and that was in 54 at bats. So like he does have good plate discipline. It's just a matter of, you know, how well is it going to translate in the bigs? Is he going to be deceived as much? Things like that. And his first shot at the bigs last year wasn't too wild, but at the same time, you saw that plate discipline with the walk to strikeout ratio where he had 20 walks to 33 strikeouts. He had 2 home runs, 14 ribs, 3 stolen bases through like 228 at bats. So like the power really wasn't even on pace at that time, but I think that was just first lick of the bigs. I think honestly, like Luis Matos' ceiling is probably about like a 2020 guy, but maybe for this year, even in the short term, he's more like probably like a 15 home run pace with 20 stolen bases. And in the real short term, while he's performing, I'm adding him right now because he's providing the batting average. He's helping you in points leagues because he's walking and not and striking out evenly. And he's putting up counting stats. I mean, it's not like the team around him is absolutely wonderful, but Matos is going to provide good fantasy value and production day in and day out for the short term and possibly for the rest of the season. So honestly, go out there and add him. Take that shot. He's 22% owned. And on top of that, he has outfield eligibility right now. And it's pretty good. I'll take it all day.
My very strong take on Matos there, where honestly, I think you hit almost pretty much point. Kid got a lot of, not a lot, but enough prospect pedigree to give him that speculative ad, as Matt mentioned. But once again, brother, you did a fantastic job. I really don't have much left to add there on the young Matos, except 22 years old, adjusting to the bigs. I think he's looking like he's figuring it out a little bit here. So let's move on to somebody else we've talked about a bunch and starting to get some regular playing time. I'm glad we could talk about him, Jo Adell. If you guys listen to this podcast, you probably know how much I like Jo Adell already. So, bear with me on this one. So Jo Adell, getting regular playing time right now, age 25, 38 games this year so far, 108 at-bats, 20 runs, 4 doubles, a triple, 8 homers, 21 RBIs, 8 steals, 9 walks to 30 strikeouts, leaves a little bit desired there, hitting 250. But honestly, he's been, like I said, playing regularly, heating up a little bit of recent. So Jo Adell is somebody that I'm just sitting out here wondering why We haven't gotten him up, owned a little bit more. 54%. I honestly think universally he should be owned at the moment until, something happens where either he's not playing as much anymore or he severely cools off. But you know what? The power, speed, you're loving it. The runs and the RBIs are there. If he ever figures out the batting average, forget about it. You're gonna have a 5-tool guy on your hand, a former top prospect in all of the game, Joe Adell. And it stinks that we had to see Mike Trout, go down for Joe Adell to step up and really start taking off here. But he's finally doing it. Like I said, there's no reason he shouldn't be universally owned at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. You look at Adele and you just go, okay, cool. There's a lot of potential here, but at the same time, he hasn't lived it. He has, a lot of Kelnick vibes. Just wasn't able to translate. So hopefully, this is here and now. I'm excited. He's already doing better than Kelnick was last year when he was kind of breaking out. So I would like to see Joe Adell solidify himself in the roster and be the guy, because then we're all going to be super happy, especially with that waiver wire pickup. Let's move on here. Let's talk
Matt,
another
real
guy
quick.
here.
I wanted to hop back in. I forgot to mention one thing. I appreciate you. I'm sorry, but with Joe Adell, all the underlying stuff looks great. The batting average has potential to get to where it was in the minors for him when he really exceeded. Everything looks just really, really good for him. Hitting the ball hard, the bat speed looks great, sprint speed looks great. Just no reason not to add Joe Adell. But just keep it going. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, man. I mean, I agree with everything. If all the tangibles actually translate to the bigs, forget about it. This kid could be good. It's just a matter of what's the reality going to be. So we'll see. Joe Adell, I'm rooting for you at least. All right, Joey Ortiz here. Joey is a bag of donuts here. Let's put it that way. Joey bag of donuts. In the minors, didn't really have power. Probably has like a 20 home run upside. Is pretty much with his full season of 539 at bats in 19 home runs. That's probably like his ceiling, but the batting average actually is legitimate. He's pretty much gone through his career between minors and bigs at a 274 batting average. He's translating right now at a 294 batting average. We all know my waiver wire. If you've been my waiver wire rule, if you've been around for a little bit, if you're new, we're about to hear it. Batting average off the waiver wire is key. And he's really producing at that point. He has 16 walks to 20 strikeouts as well. So he's helping out in points leagues. He actually has a lot of home runs this year for him on it, for his pace wise, at least. He has 5 home runs on the season. But I don't think his raw power or his power grade in general is that high, because usually you see a little bit more when the guys really have it. Like he's at like a 45 as his top end, and usually like you see a 60 grade, and then you're like, okay, cool. So Joey Ortiz is kind of on the lower end. On top of that, you just look at him, he's like, okay, cool. He's just going to be a positional player, but somebody that you could slide in and just, fill in when they're hot and take all the, the bunches and the big production then, and then dump him when he's not. He's not a long-term play whatsoever, in my opinion. Just kind of know when to call and know when to fold him with Joey Ortiz.
See, man, I thought we were going to agree on Joey Ortiz a little bit more, but I guess not. He was one of the key guys that came over in the Corbin Burns trade, and I think Milwaukee kind of knew what they were doing here. He has a little bit of prospect pedigree, not too much, as Matt mentioned. Always hit for pretty solid batting average in the minors, has a little bit of pop, not too much speed, but can definitely steal a base from time to time. Play discipline's good for you. Point leagues, guys, definitely want to give Joey Ortiz the chance. Has second and third eligibility on Yahoo, which I do love. He's currently 35% owned. And I'm just happy, someone can get away from that Baltimore Orioles system, because you know what? I feel like it's kind of messing those Baltimore Orioles prospects up. Not to talk about too much about Baltimore, but all those guys down there, they put pressure on them to perform. When they get called up, they have to perform. And Joey Ortiz gets away from it. He goes over to Milwaukee, gets everyday playing time, looks so good, 5 homers, the 16 walks, 20 strikeouts, 294 batting average. As Matt said, I don't know if it's legit, but the prospect pedigree is there. The chance to play every day is there. So let's see where things go with Joey Ortiz. I'm definitely adding him right now. Like I said, second and third eligibility on Yahoo. No reason not to, But before we move on, actually, and we talk about a couple of more good bats and we move into, starting pitching, we got some good names for you today. We do have a quick ad partner for you guys.
You ever worry about what will happen to your family? God forbid something were to happen to you. If so, you need to check out Policy Genius. Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It saves you time and money so you can provide your family with financial safety nets starting today. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at only $292 per year for $1 million coverages. That honestly, and that's really cheap. As somebody that has a policy himself. Some options offer some same-day approval, avoiding unnecessary medical exam, which could be a hassle. Policy Genius helps you compare your options from top companies, from and their team of licensed experts can help you hands-on, be helped and talk to you through this whole process, which could be confusing and overwhelming. Talk to a award-winning team agent who will walk you through the process step by step. What you may need to consider is your work life insurance policy may not offer enough protection for your family's needs, which you really should look into, because then you really want to hop on this site. Even worse, it may even come with you leaving your job. It may not come with you when you leave your job. Policy Genius gives you unbiased advice from licensed expert support team. They have no incentives to recommend one insurer over the other, so you have trusted guidance you can actually bear. So they're not getting a better commission for going with some other company. They're just going to get you the best price and the best coverage. Check your life insurance off your to-do list with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/locked-on or click the link in the description below and for your free insurance quote and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/locked-on MLB. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. Whether you have a seasoned investor or you're looking for an extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need in one place. They are the #1 finance destination, producing a holistic look at financial news cycles, including breaking news, original editorial perspectives, analyst ratings, independent research, customizable charts, and so much more. Securely links your brokerage account for unified view of your wealth, including your 401k or other investments. A comprehensive perspective is what sets apart great investors, and it's how Yahoo Finance ensures you from having insight and looking into your wealth, and entirely. With the community over 90 million users each month, there is really real strength in helping you on your way to financial success. For comprehensive financial news, analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com, the #1 financial destination, yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com. And honestly, guys, if you're just trying to make a quick buck, or you're just trying to get into it, or you're somebody new, you want to check it out, because honestly, you can go and use your, Apple stock thing, but that's not going to give you the data you need. Yahoo Finance is where you want to be. So with that, check out yahoofinance.com. And are you watching Fox News or ESPN all day on your TV? Have you had to turn down the volume on all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you and can't miss analysis, opinions, news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or free on the Amazon Fire TV channel apps. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, guys, if you're new to this show, you're gonna love this. If you've been here a while, you're also gonna know what we're about to talk about. We just want to introduce you guys to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on Subtext, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. This season, rely on our dynamic content. Get real-time alerts right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant call-up notifications, injury reactions, and a whole lot more. Stay ahead of the fantasy leagues by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext. Your path to victory begins. Subscribe now and elevate that fantasy baseball experience to new levels. By joining, you'll also get a free 2 weeks just by, coming in, checking out. Once you join, I promise you won't want to leave us. We're going to get you ahead of those leagues in all cases. And don't forget, hat giveaway, June 14th. Share all our social media posts, from my Twitter to the podcast Twitter to our Instagram. And I promise you, somebody's going to walk away with that awesome hat. All right. That was a lot. Dom, I'm going to turn off my professional voice. Please take over.
Yeah, you absolutely did a bang up job. That's fantastic, brother. I'm very proud of you for that one. That was very, very well done. But I know what the people are here for. Some baseball. Let's talk some Davis Schneider. And if you played fantasy baseball last year, you might remember the name came up at the end of last year. Another guy that was, contributing to fantasy baseball championships. He played 35 games last year, had 23 runs, 12 doubles, 8 homers, 20 RBIs. He had 21 walks to 43 strikeouts and hit 276. Got the chance again this year. 37 games, numbers looking kind of similar, 105 at-bats, 18 runs, 9 doubles, 5 homers, 17 RBIs, 2 steals, 15 walks, 32 strikeouts, 267 batting average. This guy can just hit. He's not great at particularly one thing, Davis Schneider, but you know what? He does everything pretty decently. The underlying stuff for the most part, backs up what he's doing. So David Schneider is a guy who's shown us he can be successful in the bigs. He's hit leadoff in the last 2 games for the Blue Jays on May 19th and May 18th. So there's some trust there. And then even there's a couple of games recently, they hit him leadoff, and with Vladdy and Bichette and those guys behind him, I know they're not necessarily raking at the moment, but you know what? They can drive him in. That's why the runs look decent. He could steal. He could hit for a little bit of power. Eligible at second in outfield, Davis Schneider, and he's 23% owned on Yahoo. Definitely should be higher than that. Feel free to give Davis Schneider a look for your fantasy teams.
Dom, great take. I don't even need to add anything in here. You pretty much took all the words out of my mouth that I would have said. So I'm just going to move on.
Thank you, sir.
Let's move on to Lars Nootbaar, the new bar himself. Nootbaar, we all know who he is, right? What he could be. If you're new to fantasy baseball, maybe you don't know who he is, and let me just explain who he is. Lars Nootbaar has been just as unhealthy as anybody else in that we complain about throughout baseball, and he has showed us a little glimpse in 2022 what it possibly could look like, right? In 290 at bats, he had 53 runs, 16 doubles, 3 triples, 14 home runs, 40 ribs, 4 stolen bases. The batting average left us desiring, but it was his first real year. He didn't get the call up till great. He also got hurt, of course. And then, came back and was pretty good, but dealt with that stuff. Last year, he had a good season, but dealt with injuries nonstop. We drafted him higher than we would have liked after, hindsight is 2020, but ultimately still produced when he was healthy, just kept going down to injuries. Started the year off this year hurt, finally came back and has produced quite a bit. The last couple weeks have been good, especially this last week. 4 runs, a bomb, 5 ribs, batting .316. Even over the last 2 weeks, 7 runs, 3 bombs, 9 ribs, batting .317. And the month looks good too, but I'm not going to read the stats 3 times. So, but ultimately, Lars Nootbaar is somebody you need to add just because he's healthy and he's playing. Now, do I think he's going to get hurt again? Probably. That's just his MO. But what I really think is that Lars Nootbaar is going to contribute when healthy. The batting average should improve because you know what? He's a career 243 hitter. And honestly, I think 2023 was more indicative of what his real batting average is going to look like because he had 72 walks and 99 strikeouts that year. Even this year, he has 20 walks to 24 strikeouts. So, you look at it and we should see an improvement in that category. He's going to contribute day in and day out and not kill you in points and help you in roto. So please add Lars Nootbaar.
Strong take on Nootbaar. Only have a little bit left to add. He's been hitting second, since he's been back, and we love to see that from him. Been hitting second of late. I meant to say not since he's been back. I do apologize. He's been hitting second consistently since May 7th. So we do love to see that from Nootbaar. As Matt mentioned, the batting average it's going to go back up. The guy can hit. All the underlying stuff looks indicative of him getting a lot better, and I really just love how he's been producing lately. Lars Nootbaar, 33% owned on that Cardinals team. He could definitely be useful for your fantasy team as well. Let's throw one starting pitcher in here real quick. Let's talk a little bit of Erick Fedde, right? I know I've spoken about Erick Fedde. I don't remember if Matt and I have been on the same episode and talked about Fedde, so I'm actually interested to hear what Matt has to say about him. Came back over to the bigs this year, made some changes. The numbers do look pretty good so far on the year for Fedde. 52 innings, 4 wins, 50 strikeouts, 2.60 ERA, 1.06 WHIP, and there's 4 quality starts for him on the year as well. But he's on the White Sox. A lot of the teams he's been beating up on really honestly haven't been, great teams. He's played Detroit, he's played Kansas City a couple times. Actually, did pretty well there. Well, in Minnesota, they're all right. Beat up on Washington. I don't know how sticky it is with Fedde, right? He did make the changes, but I don't think he's this good. He's a guy, honestly, I really think you could capitalize on trading for. There's a lot of teams that need starting pitchers right now. You dabble a guy like this in front of them with the great numbers right now, and you can make out pretty well. I probably have Erick Fedde somewhere in my top 50, maybe 60 starting pitchers the rest of the way. So if you could turn Erick Fedde into a top 30 starting pitcher, I think you're making out very well there. I don't think the wins stay the way they are. But, he should be at least decent the rest of the way. If he pitches to a 3.5 ERA the rest of the way with like a 1.20 WHIP and a K per 9, you're going to make out if you trade him.
Yeah, and honestly, before I give my take and my side of it, I want to hit this real quick. We'll be right back, and then, I'll give you my thing. And then plus, got a whole bunch of good starting pitchers coming up after this, so stick around.
And we're talking about our friends at LinkedIn. Are you struggling to close deals? B2B is selling tougher than ever. And that's why I want to tell you about LinkedIn Sales Navigator. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high value customers, drive higher revenue, and increase sales performance. Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers, surface key signals such as job changes or which accounts you should prioritize, and shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert. Fueled by LinkedIn's number 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up to date deals, first party data enabling for you to unlock conversations with people that matter to you. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/locked on. That is linkedin.com/locked on for a free 60-day trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/locked on to get started right now.
Very
All right,
nice.
Matt. Eric Fetty, let's hear. What are you thinking?
First, you got a great nickname for him, the Fetty Wap over here. You
I
know,
do like that. That's a good one. That's a good one.
yeah. So, like, here's my thing with Fetty. Even though he, went to career or overseas wherever he was pitching, came back and did make the changes. Like, you do see some things that are better, right? Like, he's getting better fastball movement and such. But you look at a couple other things that kind of make me like uncertain of whether this is sustainable, even to see the 3.5 ERA. And it's like his breaking pitches don't have as much movement as you'd like. Even his off speed stuff isn't really moving. The fastball velocity doesn't blow you away. He's not getting pitchers to chase. He's not getting a lot of whiffs. Even the Ks, yes, he has almost a K per nine, but it's not really there yet. You know, he's almost at he's giving up a little bit of hard hit, but what I do see that's positive for him is he's getting a little bit more ground balls. So that's where the improvement really is. He's also not walking guys a lot. So like with Fetty, I think that we're probably going to see a high threes, low fours ERA, I think, come end of season. Like, but it's a step in the right direction for him. Maybe next year, he takes this season, takes everything he learned from overseas, breaks it down, and then next year he's going to be more like one of those guys. Okay, this is going to be his breakout year. I think this is like his coming out party. Like, hey guys, I have potential, and then next year, boom. So like right now, what I'm doing and how I'm handling Eric Fed is obviously if he's available, I'm adding him and I'm riding it until the wheels fall off. But the other hand is too like he's not just like a buy like a ad guy, but he's also like if you're in a deeper league and you have him like for like the 14-man leagues, like he's probably not even available and you have him, you're that guy, you could probably trade him and get a decent return right now because he has a sub 3 RA. So he's either a must add right now or a sell high on it, in my opinion. So Fetty right now, I think is just unsustainable what he's doing. But at the same time, you ride it to the wheels fall off or you trade him high. But anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about Taj Mahal Bradley. One of my guys that I liked a lot coming into the season, unfortunately, has been hurt. I believe he's either on his way back. Oh, I'm trying to pull it up real quick.
He's back. He's back. He's
He's
back.
back. He's finally back. Thank you, Jesus. So my guy has been great through 2 starts. He's 44% owned. He's gone up against the Yankees and he's gone up against Boston. And he handled himself well against both, especially the Yanks. 6 innings, 7 Ks, a 1.5 ERA with a 1 whip. Got the quality start, I might add. Then goes out against Boston the next start. 5 innings, got the dub, 6 Ks, a 3.6 ERA with a 1 whip. Taj Mahal, I love him to death, right? Dude has a lot of talent, can handle, the pressure, in my opinion. I think he's going to be an actual stud in the next couple of years. It's just a matter of 1, can he stay healthy? 2, can he keep it all together? And 3, can he adjust when the league adjusts to him? He has all the tangibles that I feel can be a successful pitcher in this league. Will it be this year? Maybe, maybe not. But while he's out there and available, add him now and let's see what happens.
Yeah, there's no reason a pitcher like Taj Bradley should be only 44% owned in today's day and age where we all have at least 5 pitchers on our ILs. And, he has all the talent in the world. He has the stuff to do it. I think the thing that threw Taj off last year was the fact that he came up, was rocking and rolling. I believe his 5-6 starts was looking really good, and they sent him back down. And sometimes that messes with you. It ruins your confidence. It ruins the stride you're on. You feel it's a defeating feeling. So he gets sent down. He struggled in the minors when he got sent down a little bit last year. Got called back up at some point, struggled again even more. And, new year, new mentality at 23 years old for Taj Bradley. It looks like, he dominated in the minors, through his first 2 starts down there, comes up to the bigs, first 2 start, as Matt told you, looked very, very good for him. And I think this is a guy who we look back at the end of the year and we say, damn, we're drafting him inside the top 20 next year. I think we look at him maybe in a similar way to we looked at Yuri Perez coming into the draft this year. He moved up just so far, and after the season that he put together, I think Taj Bradley is the same type of talent and really, really, could be successful. Let's move on, though. Let's talk about some Los Angeles Dodgers action here. Let's talk about Gavin Stone. And honestly, I think I told you guys about 2 or 3 weeks ago, this is a guy we need to get back on our teams. Got off to a tough start this year, but I believe his last 5 or 6 starts have been really, really good. He's somebody I know that was dropped in a few leagues I was in, was able to pick him up in 1 or 2 of those leagues. And yeah, his last 1, 2, 3, 4 starts have been really good. 5 out of the last 6 have been really good for Gavin Stone. I don't ever think he's going to be a huge strikeout guy, right? But he's going to be a guy that could suppress runs. I think he could suppress hits, and is going to win games on that Dodgers team. So Gavin Stone, once again, a guy under 50% owned, 48% owned out there in over half of the leagues. I just can't understand how he isn't, 70, 80% owned at the moment. Has the prospect pedigree, 6'1", 175. You got to love it.
Yeah, I love Stone. He was somebody who was saying add in the beginning of the year. He's just going to be good. It's just a matter of you're going to have to deal with the lows, and maybe he's just a matchup dependent start. But ultimately, as the season goes on, I have a feeling he's going to become more and more relied on and more trusted, even in the tough matchups. It's a long game, and Gavin Stone's still developing. By the end of the season, he's going to be great. But let's move on. Let's talk about this guy here, Mackenzie Gore. One of my favorite pitchers over the last, I would say 7 years. He just, I feel, has been so mishandled over the, through, being traded, being called up, to be sent down. The Padres really did him a disservice.
Injuries too.
Yeah, that too. But they didn't do him any justice by how they handled him. And when he got to Washington, he did get, opportunity. And last year was kind of ugly. But then this year he's showing some promise. He has good stats on the season, which I could appreciate, and things like that. He's going out there. He's not really blowing games. He's had maybe 3 bad games entirely, and they were against Pittsburgh when they were hot, Houston, of course, and Toronto. But he's gone out against at Philly, pitching in Citizens Bank Park, which is pretty tough. Gone against Boston and Fan 9, Texas at Texas, Fan 7. And these are all games where he's had sub 4 ERAs, where he's had mid 3s or sub 2 ERA games. Mackenzie Gore has this stuff. The other thing about Mackenzie Gore is too, he has great fastball velocity. He doesn't give up hard contact. He definitely gets the strikes. He gets people to whiff. He doesn't give up a lot of hard contact. He has a lot of good things. My biggest gripe with him right now is his fastball movement, where I could see some downward turn. But if he can improve on that, which he can, he's never really had great movement on it. But if he can get it going, it's going to take him to another level. This kid, all he has to do is make a couple of adjustments, and he could be one of the most stellar pickups of the year. You only get a few really good starting pitcher pickups that are seriously valuable. He could be one of them. He could be one of those dark horses that could break through, and he has high-end prospect value, prospect pedigree. Mackenzie Gore could be the guy.
He was 3rd overall pick back in the day. And I mean, you said it yourself, if he could ever figure out that fastball, Nathan Eovaldi did it. Nathan Eovaldi was a guy who had a really flat fastball, and then over the years sort of figured it out and became a very successful pitcher. And I wanted to talk about Mackenzie Gore for 2 reasons. One, I know it's one of Matt's guys, and I wanted to hear his thoughts, but I wanted to make sure you guys know that, hey, he's doing okay. He's a guy that shouldn't be, another guy under 50% owned, at 47% owned for Gore, who's been successful recently, has the prospect pedigree, has the stuff to get it done, should be universally owned at this point. But Matt, you want to throw in anything else before we head out of here?
Honestly, no, I think we're good.
Okay. All right, so guys, please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Shout out to our everydayers and new listeners making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And make sure you guys have your eyes out for a new episode tomorrow. But guys, until then, see ya.
Peace.